the new survey questions. There's a standard set of questions here that you can see on the left, which every event has. It has the first name, the last name, the email, and sort of the consent and the country. We've just added recently two additional questions, which are how did you hear about this event? And do you work for a nonprofit charity or NGO? So those will be automatically added event, and you'll be able to download those responses. So that's data that's available to you as well. In addition to this, you could add your own questions as well for a particular event. And the way to do that is you'll see here on the right, if you go to the forms sub tab at the top, and then you'll go into the one of the two areas, which is a pre-event or a post-event. So you go to pre-order, and then you'd see here's all these form fields. And I'll walk you through those for just a second. And if you pop into this chapter, which is just my test chapter, then you go into the events here. And if you've got a live event, you'd click into that. You'd see you've got the forms section at the top here. You go into pre-order, because these are the forms that are on the pre-form. There is actually a post-event form for like post-event surveys that can happen as well. And so you go to pre-order, click into here, and then say if you want to create a new field, you just click new field. And then you click into the gear here to get into the area where you can say what kind of field type is it. Is it a short answer text, a long paragraph, an email? You can even do things like a text snippet. So you could say, here's just a big bunch of text that everyone should read, but doesn't necessarily need to click on. The other thing you'll see is a field going to be required, on or off, and then pre-fill. And what pre-fill means is if you use the same question with the same wording for every event, if pre-fill is on, it means it will remember the response from that person the previous time. So they don't need to refill in the question every time they register for an event. They only really have to do it the first time, and then they'll just see it. And they can always change it for their second registration, but they don't have to. So that's the form features. The other new feature is a hybrid event. And the hybrid event is really interesting because it finally starts solving the question of what do we do for an event that isn't online and therefore has an online link, or in person, in which case it has an address link. And to this point, you had to choose one or the other. But now within Bevy, you can actually choose to have both kinds of events in the same place. And here's how that gets created in the system. So if we go into and create a new event, and let's say, okay, honestly, it doesn't matter anymore whether it's in person or online, but you would get to say, here's your event title, and you'd fill everything in like normal. But you'll see there's now a feature here that says, what is my event venue? And if you have hybrid, you'll see that you have both a location and the ability to put in your online event link. So you can do both sides. And if you just want to do just an in-person event, you just click here. So they've simplified the process for choosing how you want to make your event happen, which is quite nice. And so now you can both have a location and the online event link and potentially live stream between the two. And coming soon from Bevy, there'll actually be an app that will allow people who are in person at your event to participate in an online conversation. So we can start bringing those two experiences together. And you can see also that there's the ability on the right here, you'll see that you can create different ticket types. So you can have a ticket type, which is one ticket's just for the virtual part of the event, another ticket type maybe with a limit on the number of tickets for the in-person, and people then can sort of choose which of the right ticket type is right for them at registration. The other thing you'll see here is there's some new help resources added that make more visible some of the resources that have always been available. So in your event dashboard, you'll see there is both the resource center and also a help tab. So here's what those look like in reality. So let's go back into basically the back end for any of these events. And you'll see on the bottom right, there's a big question mark. If you click that, it brings up the resource center, which takes you into either the help center, where you can start searching for those there. But you can also, of course, go into here and say, what are the latest updates, like the latest features? And you can also from here go into Bevy Academy. So if you click in here, it gives you actually your free coupon code for any of these 3 online courses on how to use the Bevy platform. So I would recommend, of course, the Bevy for local leaders, as well as Bevy for community admins. Conference managers is for a different version of Bevy that we don't have access to right now. But these first 2 should be done probably in about half an hour. They're not too long, and they're very helpful just to give you a great sense about how to use the platform. And finally, you can submit a ticket to get some support within the platform if there's anything that looks broken or weird. You can, of course, always reach me with those kinds of questions too about like larger platform strangeness. Oh, and the other part of that is up here. If you click on your icon in the top right, you'll see there's a help icon. If you click that, what it really does is it takes you to the TechSoup Connect playbook, which has got all of our core resources, including things like our common event platforms that we have, so our event template, as well as some FAQs to some of the top questions like how do I get into the Slack? How often should I host events? How do I get a new co-organizer to join my group? Where are the logos or the slides? All that information is available here. You can cancel and reschedule the automatic emails. So whenever you post an event, it's going to automatically create an email schedule going to both you as the organizers and to the members of the chapter. So you'll get these reminders like, oh, 2 hours before the event, it's going to send out a reminder email. And I'll show you what those look like, because the important thing is that you can cancel, reschedule, or rebuild your own if you don't like the standard emails. So say you went into a test event and we'd say, let's just go take a look at this event here. I'm going to go into edit the event. And what you can do here, so here is the chapter. We'll pop in from here into the upcoming events. You'll see I've got another repeat of this event basically in a month. We'll click into there and you'll see here that you have this email subtab. So if you pop into this, you can see all the emails that have been scheduled for this. And you can see they're in green. So the first email going to chapter members will go out on March 30th. And that's great. Typically, this email for the first email is scheduled to go out about 30 minutes after you publish your event. But if you publish 4 events all at once, you might not want all those events to go out at the same time. So you can schedule this and say, oh, don't send this email out until 1 month before the event. Or maybe you publish your event late at night, but you don't want the promo email to go out until the next morning. So you just click the clock icon, select a new time, and click reschedule. So that's what you could do if you want to change the publish date for any of these emails. The other thing you can do is you're like, oh, there's this 1 week reminder to the chapter team. I know about this event, in which case you can just cancel it. So if you click the X, they just say, do you want to cancel this email? And you're like, yeah, I do. Boom. It is gone. So this email doesn't exist anymore. You can, of course, click on these emails to see the full copy, to say, what would this email actually look like? So that's really helpful as well. You can't edit these emails right now. These are fixed emails. You can only cancel or reschedule. But if you cancel, you can, of course, always go back here and say, oh, let me just create a new email. And so you can replace it and say, oh, I want to create my own 20-minute reminder, write your own copy around this, and then schedule it. And finally, you'll see that if you cancel an email, it has not disappeared for all time. You'll see it's marked here as canceled. But if you want to say, actually, I want to save that email and bring it back, you just click the clock icon and then reschedule that email for a new date. So that's the email functionality. The next thing I wanted to mention is the higher limits on the many-to-many feature of Bevy Virtual. So as you've seen in the past, if you select Bevy Virtual as your virtual event platform, it is always limited you to 50 people who can get on camera at once. But of course, what we really find, and what it did with that, is it also limited the total registrations also to 50. So you'd have an event that would, cap out with 50 registrations, but actually we know that all 50 of those people aren't going to show up. So what they've done is they've raised the cap of the number of registrations, but still only the first 50 people who attend can come on camera. So typically this has still not been a real issue, but this now allows you to have this setting where everyone who joins the event has the ability to turn on their camera without you having to manually give them that power just by using this setting here. So as a reminder, there is the ability to do live streaming to things like Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I've tried all three of those now. And the way to do that, as we've reviewed in previous meetings, is if you pop in here to the simulcast button, you'd click that, boom, and it brings up this option for the stream URL and the stream key. Now, the stream URL and the stream key have to come from a different source. So what you need to do is go into Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube and get those two credentials. So as an example, if I go into my own YouTube account, what you do is you go here, click the upload button up here, except instead of upload video, you would click go live. So you click into that option and it's going to bring up the studio view. And Facebook and LinkedIn have a very similar kind of idea behind them, which is they take you to this back end studio area. And then from here, you need to pull out these two credentials. So you need to pull out the stream URL. So you copy that. And then you would also need to find the stream key. And sometimes the stream key is hidden. So you'll see here's the stream key. It's sort of blocked out here, but you can still copy that as well. So you take those two credentials, pop over back here into the stream settings, and go, all right, here is my stream URL. Here is my stream key, which is always like a gobbledygook long thing like this. And then you click simulcast. And once you've done that, it will then send that over to, in this case, YouTube. So you then pop over to YouTube because in most cases, it won't automatically necessarily start the stream. What it will do is it'll start streaming it into a backend here. But if you're in Facebook, there's a button here which says like publish, make this live on my page. So it's actually a back and forth process where you would create the key, go back into Bevy to add your credentials, and then you might need to then go one last time back into say Facebook and say, "Oh yes, I definitely want this to be live streaming." In the case of Facebook, it looks like YouTube, it looks like it automatically does start the stream. So when you're done, you just click end stream, and then your video recording has been recorded to the event.